Talking of Timbuktu, talking of those books, those ones that are still existing, do you think those books really does exist there as singular copies, or they have been digitized? They can be accessible on a kind of digital file. Because they are so important to our civilization, if the African government have paid money for the digitization of those material, it would not be too much. That would be bare minimum of us conserving our story. So the question is whether you think those work have been digitized or they are just there. Maybe one day the fire will burn. We'll say, there were books here. We don't have them anymore.
Yeah, from my knowledge, they destroyed a lot of Timbuktu, that's first university school, but they may have kept it. Like, I would have to do more research to see if they digitized something. Now I'm curious. Now that's going to be the first thing I do after this call. So that's interesting. That's an interesting theory. I would hope that they've digitized some of it, but I'm pretty sure the best thing that's why I love traveling, because the best thing you can do is to actually physically be there, because you get access to information and stuff that you wouldn't otherwise get online. Like, online can only help you go so far, to be honest, which a lot of people don't realize yet. But it's really true. Like, you probably get more actually physically being there, and even learning from the people is better. But I'm pretty sure that hopefully some things are able to be preserved, but I'm pretty sure that if it was preserved, that it's probably just there in Mali, or maybe it's not even in Mali. Maybe it's in like some type of other European white museum, honestly. So
That is funny.
I'll research that. That's actually really interesting. I want to find out for myself.
This is the land that have been conquered, made in such a way that the people hate the land, the people hate their language, the people hate to live there. The people can be born there. They want to run away. They want to grow up in another land. Hopefully, they want to come and die there one day. Do you sometimes get that Africans sometimes we have become strange?
Yeah, I saw a post of someone say something similar. Like, they were saying that in Europe, the air flight tickets are very cheap, but in Africa they're like way more, which is true, honestly. But someone's response was, the problem is being born in Africa. And I was like, yo, like, you think the problem is being born in Africa, or do you think globalization, neocolonialism, and racial capitalism is the problem? I was like, as our frame of thinking is just so impaired because of our source of education, or our source of knowledge and truth. Like, it is strange, but it just shows you how much we have to do for ourselves to educate the next generation, and even each other currently. Like, we have to get better at teaching and learning from each other, and teaching each other and learning from each other at a place of truth that is in the interest of Africans. Like, we have to get there. Like, we have to start loving ourselves, essentially. Like, there's a lot of self-hatred because of this, how we've been, traumatized psychologically. Like, the visual is very important. So when an African, I guess, is born in a quote unquote socioeconomically depraved community, and all they see is dirt roads, then that does something to their psyche when they go online and they see, entire cities being developed. But we have to let them understand what the actual root problem is, and how we can identify plausible solutions. And the solutions is with each other. Like, we can't keep having African people, anywhere you are in the world, work for white power structures. Like, we have to start building our own African power structure and work for African power structures. And we have to do what the Chinese did. They started from scratch. In 1999, they had zero, nothing, barely, right? And they built it up to where they are now. So we have to understand that we have to start somewhere, and we have to build from now on. And we're not starting from zero. We have something. We just need to change our consciousness to get there as a unit.
Yesterday, I had a conversation with a professional health expert in Nigeria, in Abuja. So we're looking at the situation in Kaduna, and also another part of northern Nigeria where a lot of people suffer in a very terrible way for health issue. that there is no access to health facility, and the facilities that are available are actually deplorable, to say the least. So she was really lamenting so much about it. And at a point, I was asking, of course, she did make an example of what she did with the people in the rural area now, in that he managed to convince some of them to do contribution where they put some money apart, small money, not big amount, because they are really rich, but they don't know that they are rich. That is where I'm going. But let me go like this. So he managed to tell them that, okay, you can be putting like 50 naira every day together in a small meeting, and they did it. Because at first they said they don't have money, but when she managed to convince them, they eventually do it. Later, after some time have passed, I don't know how many months have passed, they could see that they managed to realize thousands of nairas from it, and they found it very interesting for themselves. So when we were talking about this health issue, that a lot of villages do not have access to health care, I was saying, but these people, are they lame? Are they crippled? They are human beings. Their land is fertile. They are energetic. This land has always been faithful. The African land has always been faithful. That if you cultivate it, you put something on it, it will grow. How come some people cannot organize themselves to provide health care for the women, so that they don't keep dying for childbearing? Then, of course, we go a long way in that conversation. Why I'm bringing this issue out is even me myself, I'll be very vocal in complaining about the government, the Nigerian government in this case, which of course is true. The government have a lot to do that it has not done, but the government cannot do everything. I think the people have power, but sometimes we don't know that we have power. Because even if you are living in the rural area, there are still a lot of things that you can do and you will be happy. You don't need to go anywhere. You can really live comfortably. Of course, you are not going to buy Mercedes, or you are not going to buy Maserati in the village, but you will live a quality life. So what is your own take on the fact that we as a people, ordinary people now, focusing their attention on ourselves? What is your take that if we focus the attention on ourselves, we can actually find the solution that we are looking for?
Yeah, I think that's honestly the answer. And doing things like almost sounds like the person you interviewed was doing a susu, and that's a simple solution that communities could start doing. And I don't see why it's not something that they thought of. But honestly, I do know, because when talking to people, they have said like, oh, like when I was in Ghana, for example, they were like, oh, you can't trust Ghanaians. Like you have Ghanaians saying that you can't trust Ghanaians. They'll trust an outsider like me coming in, but they won't trust each other who they grew up with, essentially. And I think that's a part of the problem. So yeah, we have to start looking within and helping each other, and start bearing trust with each other again, and maybe starting to go back to our morals and principles that we once had, because I feel like, at least in like urban communities, that it's starting to change a little bit. Like our morals and values are starting to resemble the corrupt leaders we don't like, essentially, because people are just trying to survive now. They're like, you know what? I'm tired of waiting, so I'm gonna skim off my neighbor like the president does. So I think that's also an issue. And then for the person that was doing the medical care treatment, why weren't they just growing natural foods or herbs or things that could help them, versus trying to get a facility? Or would that not have worked?
Yeah, some of them actually do. But the question is that, anyway, that was the argument I didn't want to elaborate much with her yesterday, that we're going to divert the attention, because we're actually looking at the universal health care in Nigeria, which was supposed to be something that was supposed to be provided by the Nigerian government. Okay. Then, of course, she did make mention of the fact that some of the women only apply traditional medicine, and there is a lot of fatality in it. A lot of people died in it. Then, of course, if I were talking to an expert, because she's not an expert in that area, she could, of course, respond to some of the things I wanted to ask. Because this is also an argument that I'll be dealing with some people, both physicians, people who actually are passionate of African traditional medicine. Because those medicines have been keeping us alive for thousands of years. If we apply them wrongly, there are serious consequences. So we need to understand what we are doing.